Strength is often admired but rarely understood. The women we call strong are not defined by ease or privilege. They are shaped by battles fought in silence. Their scars are not written on their skin but carved deep within their souls. These invisible marks tell stories of survival, resilience, and transformation. Carl Jung once suggested that the very wounds we carry are the seeds of our growth. Pain, loss, and disappointment do not simply break us. They mold us into something different, something more enduring. For women who have endured the weight of life's harshest lessons, their strength is not a natural gift. It is the outcome of trials that demanded more than anyone should be asked to give. Perhaps you recognize yourself in these scars even if you have never named them. The quiet loneliness of carrying burdens others cannot see. The inner dialogue of self-doubt that follows every betrayal. The silent endurance in moments where giving up seemed easier. These scars become part of identity, not to glorify suffering but to acknowledge that strength has a cost. As we walk through these 5 invisible scars, we will uncover not just pain but the wisdom and power born from it. And perhaps in doing so, you may begin to see your own scars differently. Many women carry their first scar in the form of loneliness that was never chosen. From an early age, life taught them that relying on others was a fragile hope. Promises were broken, trust was betrayed, and stability was often absent. Out of necessity, they learned to stand alone, not because they wanted to, but because there was no other choice. This scar is different from solitude. Solitude can be restorative, a conscious step back to heal, to listen to the inner voice, to breathe without interruption. But loneliness is something else entirely. It is the silence that lingers when support never arrives. It is the heavy realization that no one will catch you when you fall. So you must build the strength to carry yourself. Over time, this imposed independence becomes both a source of pride and of pain. To be the pillar of your own life is to discover resilience, yes, but also to carry a constant weight that few can truly understand. Behind the image of strength, there is often a woman who has longed at least once for someone to say, "You don't have to do this alone." This scar reminds us, self-sufficiency may protect, but it also isolates. And within that isolation lies both the ache of abandonment and the quiet discovery of inner power. Another scar carried by strong women is born from the endless act of caring for others while neglecting themselves. Many grow into roles where family, children, partners, or siblings depend on them. They become the ones who fix, soothe, provide, and sustain. Outwardly, this looks like strength. Inwardly, it can feel like suffocation. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the hidden parts of ourselves that remain repressed. For many women, their own needs, desires, and vulnerabilities are pushed into that shadow. They tell themselves, "I'll rest later, I'll heal later, I'll matter later." But later often never arrives. The constant sacrifice becomes a way of life, a badge of responsibility that slowly erases the self behind it. This scar is not about generosity. It is about imbalance. To give endlessly without replenishing is not true love, but depletion disguised as duty. And yet, society often praises this exhaustion, calling it devotion, when in reality it is a quiet form of self-abandonment. The strongest women are often the most tired ones, carrying invisible weights no one else notices. They have learned to silence their own cries in order to answer the cries of others. And though this builds resilience, it also leaves behind a hollow ache, the ache of being everything to everyone except to oneself. One of the most piercing scars is the silence that surrounds unrecognized pain. Society often applauds the woman who appears unshakable, the one who holds her ground no matter how heavy the storm. She is celebrated for her composure, admired for her endurance. Yet few stop to ask what it costs her to keep smiling while her soul quietly bleeds. This silence is not chosen freely. It is born from necessity. Many women learn early that to cry, to falter, or to ask for help is to risk being judged as weak or incapable, and so they master the art of concealment. They laugh when they want to weep. They nurture when they need nurturing. They say, "I'm fine," when the truth trembles inside them. Carl Jung reminded us that what is unacknowledged in the psyche does not disappear. It hides in the shadows, shaping our inner life in secret. The pain that is never named becomes the wound that never heals. Strength in these cases is not always a triumph but a survival strategy. It is the armor worn to move through a world that does not pause to witness suffering. And though the outside may appear radiant, the silence within becomes one of the heaviest burdens of all. Another deep scar carried by many strong women is the loss of innocence that comes with being forced to grow up too soon. Instead of discovering the world through the natural rhythm of childhood or youth, they were confronted with violence, abandonment, poverty, or injustice. Life did not wait for them to be ready. It demanded resilience before they even understood its weight. This premature maturity often means trading play for responsibility, dreams for survival. A girl who should have been protected finds herself protecting others. A teenager who should have been exploring possibility is already carrying the burdens of an adult life. The simplicity of innocence dissolves into an early awareness of pain, struggle, and impermanence. Carl Jung spoke of individuation as the process of integrating the opposites within us. But when maturity is imposed too early, this process is distorted. The child self is silenced, and the adult self emerges before its time. And while this forced growth often creates remarkable strength, it also leaves behind the ache of something unfinished, the life stages that were never fully lived. This scar is not visible, yet it echoes in the soul. The longing for a childhood that cannot be reclaimed, and the silent wisdom born from having survived what should never have been endured. After enduring repeated disappointments, betrayals, and pain, strong women often learn to approach love with caution. Their hearts carry the memory of broken promises, unfulfilled expectations, and the quiet suffering of giving more than they received. Love for them is not naive or unguarded. It is tempered by vigilance, shaped by lessons learned through hardship. This scar manifests as emotional walls. It is a defense mechanism, a way to protect the soul from further wounding. Yet these walls, while shielding, also create distance. They make intimacy more complex, trust harder to extend, and vulnerability a rare gift rather than a natural state. The paradox is that the very strength that has kept them safe also isolates them from the depth of connection they deeply crave. Carl Jung emphasized that the shadow contains aspects of ourselves we cannot fully face. In love, these shadows can appear as fear, suspicion, or self-doubt. Recognizing this scar does not diminish the capacity to love. Rather, it illuminates the balance between caution and openness. The heart that has been wounded deeply is capable of profound love, but it chooses its attachments wisely, discerning not out of coldness, but out of self-preservation and reverence for its own value. This scar is both protective and limiting. It tells a story of survival, wisdom, and the delicate negotiation between guarding oneself and allowing love to enter. The very scars that mark strong women's lives carry a hidden gift, the transformation of pain into wisdom. Each wound, though born of hardship, becomes a teacher. Over time, the forced loneliness teaches resilience. The burden of caring for others cultivates empathy. The silence of unrecognized suffering fosters deep understanding. The early loss of innocence shapes discernment, and the cautious heart refines the ability to love with clarity. Carl Jung reminds us that what wounds us also transforms us. These scars are not just reminders of what was endured. They are symbols of growth, markers of the soul's journey. They allow the strong woman to perceive the world with a depth others may not reach, to respond with compassion where once there was only self-protection, and to guide others through similar trials. Her strength is no longer mere survival. It becomes conscious, intentional, and generous. The paradox is that her deepest wounds are now her greatest tools, instruments through which she connects, heals, and inspires. Through these scars, she discovers a rare wisdom that bridges pain and purpose, teaching that suffering, when embraced and understood, can illuminate the path for herself and those around her. Carl Jung taught that the journey of life is not merely about avoiding pain, but about integrating it. The scars carried by strong women, those invisible marks of forced loneliness, relentless responsibility, unrecognized suffering, premature maturity, and cautious love, are essential threads in the tapestry of individuation. Individuation, Jung explains, is the process of becoming whole, embracing both light and shadow, strength and vulnerability, consciousness and the unconscious. Each scar becomes a signpost on this journey. They are not proof of weakness or failure. Rather, they are evidence of survival, adaptation, and growth. The young woman who learned to be self-sufficient, the caretaker who prioritized others above herself, the silent sufferer who bore unseen pain, the prematurely matured girl, and the cautious lover, all are fragments of a psyche striving for coherence. Through reflection, self-awareness, and conscious integration, these experiences are transformed into wisdom and depth. Pain ceases to be merely endured. It becomes a teacher, guiding the soul toward greater authenticity and balance. The scars, once seen as burdens, are now recognized as symbols of resilience, courage, and the unfolding of a fully realized self. Jung's vision reminds us that the journey through suffering is not only necessary but sacred. The scars we carry, though invisible, shape the contours of our soul, yet they do not define our totality. One way to honor and transform them is through a daily contemplative practice. Find a quiet space and close your eyes. Begin by taking deep, slow breaths, allowing your body to settle and your mind to soften. Visualize each scar, the loneliness, the weight of responsibility, the unrecognized pain, the loss of innocence, and the cautious heart, as a small seed within you. With each breath, imagine these seeds beginning to bloom, unfolding like delicate flowers. See their petals unfurl, transforming pain into beauty, vulnerability into strength, and past wounds into gateways for growth. As you breathe in, feel the energy of healing filling each space once occupied by hurt. As you exhale, release any residual tension, fear, or self-blame. Recognize that each scar has a story, a lesson, and now a potential for renewal. This simple practice, repeated daily, nurtures self-compassion, presence, and inner wisdom. Over time, the scars shift from being reminders of suffering to portals of transformation, symbols of resilience, depth, and the quiet power that comes from truly integrating life's challenges into the fabric of the self. The women who bear these invisible scars are often seen as strong, sometimes even invincible. Yet, beneath the surface lies a tapestry of pain, endurance, and profound growth. These marks are not evidence of weakness but of survival. They tell the story of lives lived with courage in the face of adversity, of hearts that refused to settle for less than authenticity, and of souls that have weathered storms few could imagine. Consider for a moment the paradox of these scars. They are simultaneously burdens and badges of honor. Each scar carries wisdom, each wound a lesson etched into the fabric of the self. What if, rather than concealing them, we honored them as evidence of resilience? What if the very experiences that once caused suffering are now guiding lights, illuminating the path toward empathy, insight, and compassion? As you reflect on your own journey, ask yourself, what if my scars are proof that I survived what many could not endure? What if they are, in fact, my greatest teachers, shaping me into someone capable of love, discernment, and deep connection? On this channel, we explore these dimensions of the human soul. Here, you are invited to witness your own growth, to embrace your scars as portals of transformation, and to continue walking a path of self-discovery and healing. The journey is ongoing, and your story is sacred. If this exploration of invisible scars resonates with you, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Subscribe to the channel to continue uncovering the deeper dimensions of the human soul, and join a community committed to healing, self-discovery, and transformation. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story may illuminate the path for someone else navigating their own scars.